Well, hello there, ladies and gents. Great to see you again. Welcome back to Advance Your Wealth with Homer Smith. I'm Ryan Ruff, your moderator. Of course, I got Homer standing by, and we've got another great conversation on tap for you guys today where we're going to explore another wealth management related discussion. You know, a lot of the times on this show, we speak to the business owners out there, and today we thought we'd bring on a guest expert really from Homer's team to dive even deeper and more granular into a specific topic that's really at the forefront of a consideration for a lot of business owners out there. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be exploring kind of 3 costly threats and 2 untapped opportunities around managing your company's 401k plan. A lot of good stuff in today's discussion. Before we bring out our guest for today from the Convergent Wealth team, let's go ahead and say hi to Homer. Homer, good to see you today. How you doing?
Hey, doing well, Ryan. Glad to be here, and excited to talk today about this topic. I know for a lot of business owners themselves, they may not have a significant amount of wealth tied up in their 401k individually, but I know how important of a benefit it is for the employees and how it can be used as an advantage. And so definitely excited to talk to Guy today about how we can do that.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and welcome Guy to the show. Guy, thanks for joining us. Excited to talk about it today.
Hey, thank you, Ryan and Homer. It's great to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, Guy, I know we're going to talk about these threats and these opportunities with 401k plans, but you kind of want to set the table and kind of frame up the conversation in terms of how you see the importance of a 401k plan related to a business owner.
Yeah, it's thank you, Homer. It's a 401k plan is a crucial tool, right, for business owners to attract new employees, reward existing ones, and retain their great employees. And how they do that, there's a lot of different ways to make a 401k plan work. In my 20 years of 401k plan experience, you would constantly hear me tell employers there's no right or wrong answer or way to set up a 401k plan, but there is lots of better ways than others to make it happen. So I think that's what we'll probably talk about today, some of the common pitfalls that employers will fall into and some of the proactive things that they can do with working with an advisor to make sure that their 401k plan is dialed in and doing the most for them. Essentially, what is their return of investment on their 401k plan itself?
And you kind of, when you talked with me about it, you kind of frame it up and talk about it in a little bit in comparison to like a home remodel. How do you want to walk through how you kind of view that and see that?
Yeah, so it's a great analogy there, Homer. A 401k plan is a lot like a kitchen you just remodeled 10 years ago, right? You live in it every day. You don't realize that some things may be out of date, but when you step back from it, from the day-to-day, and you get a fresh perspective, you realize it does need a lot of work. I am 100% in that same example that I just gave you myself. I bought my home about 10 years ago. It was great when we moved in, but stepping back 10 years, in the past year, there are lots of little things that need attention, and many of them I'm working my way around to, but there's a lot of them in there. Most companies set up a 401k plan and they don't revisit it. If you were to step back and take a hard look, you realize that there's some ugly truths as well as some valuable opportunities you could be overlooking. What you might not see now are some of the hidden risks that could come up with an audit. Some things like electrical that's no longer up to code, or the compromisers in our analogy that the contractor may have made at the time that they were remodeling your kitchen. So our role is to help you find those costly problems, identify the hidden risks, and open you and your employees up to valuable cost-saving and time-saving opportunities.
Well, cool. Let's dive in on some of the threats that you tend to see. I know across the investment world, there's been a hyper focus for good reason on fees and the impact that fees and costs associated with your investments can have on your long-term return. So I know this is a big one. So, in your view, in kind of threat number one around high costs, how does that play in to a lot of the 401ks that you see out there?
Yeah, it's a great question, Homer. Fees are a big part of any retirement plan discussion. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. It is crucial. It is not all of the discussion, and I would caution any client or advisor that matter that puts all of the weighting on the side of the fees, because there is a value that you need to discuss in there. But at the core, it is finding out, are you paying too much for your company's 401k plan? How do you even find out if you're an employer, if you're paying what would be considered reasonable by the Department of Labor standards, right? There are costs to administer the plan, but there are oftentimes hidden fees that aren't immediately apparent. I often give the analogy that it is like an onion. There can be layers of fees inside of a 401k plan.
Yeah, and interesting as you mentioned that, because when we request documents from clients, we're trying to help them review kind of the entire picture, not just the retirement plan. And we'll ask for like their fee disclosure form for their 401k. And you can tell whether this is something that's been reviewed with them on a regular basis simply by them being aware that this form, I mean, they know it exists, but just their ability to go for it and find it real fast is like, look, probably hasn't been something that their advisor has spent a lot of time going through with them on a regular basis. So a lot of opportunity there. Another one you mentioned in your kind of your analogy of the home with code. And I know this is also something important. And there's a lot of regulations around 401k plans because of the importance of making this a benefit for your employee and being able to benefit them. So talk me through some of the challenges and threats that you see out there when it comes to the compliance of the plan.
Yeah, thanks, Homer. So the compliance is super important. And just to touch back just a minute on your disclosure comment previously, the plan level disclosure, the technical IRS term is 408B as in boy 2 is the technical term for that form that clients and employers can ask from their record keeper so that folks like you and I, Homer, can go through it and review and find these hidden fees inside of the plan. First thing I'll tell you is they are can be very confusing. There is no two record keepers out there that follow a format for them. So how the information is listed in there, how it's buried in there, it can take quite a bit of work to actually pull out some of those fees, understand those hidden costs. But to your point, that does then go directly into the compliance aspect of it. If you don't know how much you're paying and you don't know if the costs of your plan are relative or relevant relative to your competitors in your marketplace, how do you know that all the other things of your plan are going on, such as the compliance behind the scenes are taken care of, right? So Homer, to that point, for compliance, it's a big issue, right? There is the fiduciary, the big F word in our world. That is the fiduciary responsibility. And under ERISA, a majority of the responsibility for the 401k plan is to ensure that it doesn't disproportionately reward high compensated employees or owners. And as a result, the plan must go through pretty extensive non-discrimination tests on an annual basis, or they tend to employ some type of get out of jail free card, if you will, like a safe harbor plan design provision. 401k plans also need that fiduciary that you and I talked about earlier that makes plan decisions. And this fiduciary might be an investment manager. They might be the employer. There can often be a third-party administrator involved on the admin side, or the financial record keepers themselves. And the cost of non-compliance with all of these rules and regulations can be extremely expensive and potentially damaging to the company's reputation.
Yeah, obviously a critical component. And as you mentioned, these plans can be very complex. And so having, a team of people that's helping them review and they're busy running their lives and running their business and obviously their family as well. And so, adding, being able to be an expert on retirement plans is typically not something that most business owners really want or need to be doing. They just really need a good team around them to help them understand it and make sure that they're following the requirements there. So I think it's important to have the right team around you. Another huge potential benefit of a 401k is that it can be a great benefit for the employees. Whether it's the ability to defer income and reduce their tax bill, or take advantage of the Roth component of 401ks. And even for those who wouldn't typically qualify to fund a Roth IRA, can now fund a Roth 401k at a very high level. So huge benefits. But I think the challenge that we see and that you've seen is, oftentimes employers aren't creating the right level of interest and understanding of the benefit around their 401k. And oftentimes many of their employees aren't taking advantage of that. So, how do you see like this third threat around, how the employees are perceiving the benefit of a plan like this? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, it is enormous. I will tell you that in my 20 years of working with retirement plans, I really felt like by the end here of my career working with these record keepers that I was really an employee experience professional. That is the biggest draw for employers now, is to say, what is the experience both am I receiving as the employer, and my employees getting out of this plan, right? Going back to the 3 R's for why employers set up these plans to begin with, it is to recruit, retain, and reward these talented employees. And oftentimes the employers will tell you the hardest part or the most challenging of those 3 R's is the recruiting, right? Getting employees in and talented employees in the door. And they often think, hey, I'm a good employer, I pay well, the retention, the reward, those will handle themselves. But recruiting is really, really difficult for employers nowadays. And this is where a really well-designed 401k plan can be crucial to helping these employers attract new talent. There's really no reason, Homer, I would tell you to maintain a plan with suboptimal offerings when better options are available. So a retirement plan that offers perks that a good employees want, plus a strong incentive to contribute to the plan will help you keep the talent that you hire. And a worthwhile retirement benefit shows your workers that they're valued, right? A few of the things that we ask when we're sitting down with companies to determine how satisfied are they with their 401ks would be, looking at deferral percentages and in case what percentage of your employees are actually participating in the plan, right? Do they have a good experience when they're working with the record keeper? Or does the employer have good experiences working with the providers that are on their side, such as the third-party administrator or the investment professional, right? Are they making a good matching contribution, right? And if so, how does it compare to other matching contributions or other benefits provided by companies in their peer group locally? Lastly, one of the final questions I would ask is, does your plan advisor provide employee advice or additional services? And if they do so, what do they charge for those services they provide?
Yeah, great stuff on there. So clearly between the fees of the plan, the compliance, and whether the plan is really following all of the guidelines that it needs to, and really is it making or is it providing the value for the employees that it should be? Critical questions and threats that every business owner that has a 401k should be asking themselves and reviewing with their team. So that's obviously some of the challenges or maybe the threats. Let's talk about some of the opportunities that should be unlocked and could be unlocked if these business owners are really viewing their 401k plan in the right light. So let's start off with for someone who really wants to make sure they're providing the right type of benefit, how can they bring better value into the plan that they currently have or want to start up?
Yeah, it is, Homer. It's a great question. There is, again, I'm going to go back to my no right or wrong answer to this, but there is several degrees of better in my mind, right? So we're going to go back to the initial analogy or metaphor we created with the home remodel. And just like that home remodel creates additional value for your home, your 401k plan that you provide for your company has advantages over others when it's done correctly. And one important factor is finding a plan that offers a wide range of both investment options and competitive fees, right? So with a solid menu of investments, you can demonstrate to your employees that you're complying with standards as well as your dedication to the employees to keep their costs down, because fees inherently really dissolve a lot of retirement plan participants' value in their own accounts. So the investments need to be suitable for everyone in the organization. And this is sometimes a tough one to get across, especially some of the C-suite employees that really are focused on investing. But at the end of the day, we need to have a very diverse group of investments available for both brand new entry-level employees, the folks that are middle-aged, or the folks that are right near retirement. Everybody needs something that is suitable for where they are along that roadmap for their own retirement. And, usually this requires a range of options without expensive fees that can drive up, again, the cost of investing. So if your investment lineup either has too many funds, participants tend to get confused, and that will sometimes put off participation in the plan. But obviously the high cost of investments can make it really can be a disservice to your employees. So a couple of the things we look at is say, hey, again, what are the employees' cost to invest in the plan themselves? What fees are they bearing as a brunt as a participant in the plan, right? So these are things we want to look at to increase the value for this 401k plan to your participants, right? Another one is what type of investment strategies are offered? Do they have a qualified default investment alternative, for example, as a safety net when they're either moving plans or just for new participants to jump into, right? Are there both indexed funds available and actively managed funds? there's really no two participants that are going to sit down with an advisor and have the same goals. So it's really important to make sure that these plans are diversified to cover all aspects of what a participant might want to invest in. And a couple other quick ones are, right, can employees ask for help when choosing investments themselves? Do they have someone to talk to? Or does the advisor themselves regularly guide the employees on how they can best take advantage of the plan? Again, having this advisor and this employee experience wrapped together can be a huge benefit for the participants understanding the incredible value that these employers are putting out, both time and money for their employees.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I think it's so important to make sure that anything you're providing to your employees is a valuable benefit. And I think there's so many ways that you just described to take a look at your plan and make sure that you're doing that. Which I think this next opportunity kind of dovetails off of that. In our world, the financial advisor, wealth management world, most advisors in my experience. Managing 401ks is not their top priority. It's typically much more of a commoditized space, low margin, low fees in general for the advisory side. And so often, not only is maybe the business owner not reviewing it as often as they'd like to, but their advisor may not be spending as much time on this. And what it really takes is a team that has a bit more specialization and experience to really drive the value and make this a win-win, not only for the business owner, but for the advisory team that's managing that 401k. Tell me a bit more about an opportunity and what business owners should be thinking about in terms of the service they should be expecting and how to make this as simple as possible to get the most value out of their plan.
Yeah, great question. And perhaps our biggest challenge, Homer, as plan advisors. So, these retirement plans can be quite complex. There's lots of moving parts and pieces to making them work successfully each year in and year out. And having a financial advisor on your plan can assist in maximizing all those employee benefits that you're providing and spending, again, hard-earned time and money on, right? The advisors act as a bridge or a quarterback between the employer, the employees, and all of these third party, such as, again, TPAs or record keepers or investment managers in the plan, right? So when the employees do receive that 401k education and advice, most of them will take advantage of it, right? If it's provided, they will use it, right? And this assists in things like these non-discrimination compliance testing we talked about earlier, right? The more people that participate in the plan, the better the plan health is going to be for all employees, right? And so finding someone who has experience in these various different plan types, as well as with all the rules and regulations, Homer, is huge, especially when it comes down to compliance, because advisors can analyze the costs, help these employers benchmark the different aspects of the plan, the fees they're paying, and make sure, again, that they're relative to their peer group in their industry and for a plan of their size. All right. We stay up to date on possible changes, things like Secure 2.0 that's coming down the pike here, best interest contracts, the fiduciary rules, all of those. And we communicate that back to the employer and their employees, right? So a couple questions when I'm sitting with employers to help determine some of the levels of service, right? And a lot of this is about keeping this simple. We want good technology and we want it to be very user-friendly for the employees to take advantage of it. If it's not, they won't use it. And if the tech isn't easy for them to access, for example, a website or a mobile app, they will traditionally not have as good of engagement. So again, asking your advisor, do they contact your plan? Thinking to yourself, does your advisor contact you regularly regarding updates with industry regulations, again, like Secure 2.0? Do you have a set schedule for meeting with your advisors or meeting with employees, right? How often do you hear from them? And do they understand some of these complexities and additional plan types that might help and benefit you in addition to just a 401k plan down the line?
I love it. And, so for those of you watching, I know we have had a number of these podcasts where we talked about all sorts of business owner issues, and I've never really brought up the retirement plan side because it wasn't an area that I was confident I could deliver this kind of value in because of all these complexities and intricacies that Guy has mentioned. And the good news is part of why you see Guy on the screen today is we've been able to recently add him to our team, and it's very excited out of 20 years in this industry and the expertise that he brings. I finally feel we're in such a great place to bring this added value to our clients, but also, to any of you watching out there that are looking, is like, do I really know, are my fees appropriate, for the level of plan that we have? And, are my investments, really appropriate and adding value to my employees? Am I getting the type of service that I really deserve for this type of such an important benefit to the business and to the employees? And if not, just now know that we've got this great resource, Guy Ridout, on our team here to really bring you that value. And so, and to be honest, even just in the short time that Guy's been here, every plan that we've reviewed, we've found issues with each of those threats and opportunities that we've described today, which is why I think it's so important to bring this message out. And even the benefits of having an advisory team that's very focused on this type of a structure. I'll tell one quick story. We're recording this just after the 9/15 corporate tax filing deadline. And with the changes into some of the retirement plan rules that happened during COVID, it allowed business owners to fund these plans all the way up until their tax filing deadline, including extensions. And even still, we had all this time. We've had owners approach us less than a week away from the extension saying, hey, can I still do a plan? And normally the answer is no. Even though we still have a week till the deadline, no administrator, no group's going to be able to put together all the pieces required to do this in that short of a time. And with Guy, with his expertise, with his relationships, we were able to get a couple of plans opened, started from scratch, funded within a week, which made huge differences for these business owners and tax savings for them. And so again, just having a team dedicated to this, expertise in this, has been extremely valuable. So just excited to have Guy on the team. And obviously, if you're listening to this, you see all the issues you might face and the opportunities. So definitely take advantage of Guy's expertise. Please reach out, send us an email, give us a phone call, and Guy will be happy to take a look at your plan and see what options might be available to you.
Fantastic. Well, gentlemen, Homer, you hit the nail on the head. I think we might just have to see Guy more on the show today with the expertise that we brought for us. So thank you, Guy. Appreciate you. And folks, we flashed that information there at the bottom of the screen. If any of these various questions surrounding your 401k, let's say for your business, is resonating with you, make sure to reach out to Homer and his team to get your questions answered and kind of open up a deeper dialogue about that. But look, folks, as we wrap up today, I want to make sure we take one final moment to thank you for stopping by and being a part of the show today. If you enjoyed today's conversation, if you learned a thing or two, make sure you hit that subscribe button on whichever platform you checked us out on today so that you don't miss out on any future conversations where Homer and I either welcome on part of his team, great guests from his network, or just the two of us jump into a nice wealth management discussion. Either way, this show is meant for you and for your value. We want to make sure you don't miss out on any of the good stuff moving forward. Before Homer and Guy, I'm Ryan. We're going to go ahead and say so long now, but we appreciate you stopping by and being with us on Advance Your Wealth.